Hi, Kris Ferris here, again with Featured Artist, and today we're on the campus of Greensboro College, and we're in the office of Dave Fox. Thanks for letting us come in here and talk to you today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I love the space.
Yeah.
It's just too bad I don't know how to play one of these things, or I might jump on one myself.
You can give it a try.
We're going to try to cover a lot of ground here today, and me personally, I wanted to go right back to the beginning. So I was curious about your musical roots, where your talent came from.
Well, I think it'd definitely be tied into taking piano lessons as a child, but I didn't take for very long. I think I started when I was around 6 or something like that. Actually, I couldn't read, so it might have even been earlier than that. But I took for a couple of years and did pretty good, but then I got kind of more interested in things going on in school, sports, which is funny because I can't play any sports at all. I'm terrible at sports. I figured to be a real, man, I have to not be a musician anymore. And then the Beatles, like a lot of other people, the Beatles just came along, and it's like it was cool to be a musician. So I got interested in music again and got back into it. Actually playing guitar for a while. I know a lot of guitar chords. I'm a terrible guitarist, but I can get by on some songs like that. And I played bass. But then I started taking piano lessons again because somewhere along the line I heard some classical music that just really hooked me, and I got interested in classical music. So the idea of getting a degree, in classical piano started to intrigue me. So I started taking lessons and worked up an audition and went to UNCG for classical music.
So your musical exploration started, mom or dad said, you got to learn something, kid. What are we want you to take lessons? Or were they musical themselves?
Somebody must have said that. I can't remember whose idea. I don't think it was my idea, because I couldn't even hardly read at the time. I didn't know what a piano was. But my mom and dad were musicians in a sense. My dad played guitar, and he was kind of like, the equivalent of an amateur folk musician. He could play a few chords and he could sing, and he and mom would do these gospel songs, these hymns, and we lived in New Jersey at the time, and they went to a Baptist church. There's not a lot of Baptist churches up in New Jersey, but they would sing.
What, the Baptists don't like New Jersey?
Well, I don't know about that. There's New Jerseyans don't like Baptists.
Okay.
But they would sing these really beautiful songs. They're not only spiritual songs, they're kind of folk songs, kind of Americana. And they actually were on the radio a couple of times. So I'm sure that had an influence on me too.
So there's a few genes hiding in there.
But I'd say it's mostly John Lennon.
Yeah.
And Wolfgang Mozart.
Okay.
Influence.
So that's kind of good. I mean, that leads me into the thoughts that I was having when I was putting together your questions was, everybody has a kind of different timeline. Some people take lessons and then they go off and do something else and then they come back, and that's kind of what it sounds like you did. There wasn't just this fluid from one musical thing to the next musical thing. There was maybe, how did the timeline go for you?
I think with me it's actually more like a sound wave, because sound waves it come up and down.
Yes.
You have these cycles.
Yeah.
And so I would cycle through something and get as much of it as I could. Not becoming an expert in it by any means, but just getting as much of it as I could take. And then my mind just needed something else to do, so I'd go to another genre or another style of playing. So I'd be really excited about classical music for 2 years, and then I'd be into jazz for a couple of years, and I'd do nothing but jazz exercises and nothing but learning jazz tunes. Then I'd get into whatever, rock or Americana or something like that. And if you live long enough, the cycles keep coming back, so I'd eventually get to classical and stuff. So I've kind of developed the ability to just play in a lot of different styles.
Right.
I may not be the best player in any one of those styles, but I'm pretty good at playing in almost any style, which is fun because in the past 15 years, my number one goal has been the idea of improvising and the art of improvisation. So
Yeah,
I like
we're gonna
it,
talk
even if it's a song that's structured, I like to bring improvisation into
Yeah.
it, so you're creating it in the moment. Right.
So did you feel all the learning part first and then move into performing and then writing, or do you kind of go through the whole process like when you...
The writing has been the last thing for me.
Yeah.
The writing and composing, although I've always dabbled in it, I've always thought of myself as a composer, as a songwriter, but I was spending more time on just becoming a better player. So I've been working on all aspects of it for a pretty long time. But I'd say classical technique and performance was the first thing I kind of got down, and then but the whole time I've been dabbling in jazz.
Yeah.
So then I kind of concentrated on jazz, and I'm probably mostly more known as a jazz player. But then I started doing a lot of avant-garde stuff as I got into the idea of total improvisation and just making things up on the spot. And then after that, and it's not like I leave one thing and I don't ever do the thing before. It's like I keep building on it. So now I've gone through kind of a rock Americana stage, and now I'm working on a jazz album again. So I guess I like the idea of just doing whatever I want to do. It doesn't matter what genre it is. But that'd be the progression. It started with classical and with technique for me.
So you've only come at composing kind of later in your life?
I've only started doing it seriously, like spending a lot of time on it, like getting to the place where you say, okay, I can compose, then actually sitting down and composing, it takes so much time. So then you decide, do I really want to still do this? Do I really want to spend all night for the next few nights figuring out how this thing can be transposed and if it's going to work and what other things and all that stuff? I really want to take the time to do that.
So I'm going to rearrange my questions because you mentioned there were no Baptists in New Jersey. And
I didn't say that.
Anyway, and you were just talking about improvisational music, and I was curious in my mind.
We're just all members of the mob.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot more sense. I get that. Are you a spiritual or religious person yourself?
I think I'm spiritual. I'm not religious. I kind of had a life of living by religious dogma for a long time, and kind of don't see that as a way to a fulfilled life.
Right.
So,
but when you're improvising, excuse me, or especially when you're performing and you're in that improvisational frame of mind, do you feel like there's a higher power or there's some other influence?
Yeah, and I feel that even in moments other than that, I feel it lots of times, and that's why I say I am spiritual.
Yeah.
In that there's something out there that is beyond our physicalness.
Right.
I'm not sure I know exactly what it is. I'm not sure anyone knows exactly what it is. But I do feel like musicians tap into that, but I think everyone can tap into that and does tap into that. But I don't. It's interesting that we talk about experiencing spiritual things through music.
And then that leads to my other thought about it. I was curious because I, as a musician myself, I very rarely put myself in the place of improv. I want to know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I imagine it must be kind of intriguing how you would go about saying, well, this person and that person, I can see how they would fit in here and they would kind of get my vibe and be able to go with me. How do you pick people that you collaborate with?
That's a good question. And I don't know if I have really a concrete answer like this is how I do it. I know to be involved with other musicians in any situation, whether it's a band where you play regularly or whether you just get people together to do concerts with you, there is this element of, will I get along with this person? Will they get along with me?
Not only personally, but musically, right?
Am I comfortable spending 2 hours for the performance and 2 hours of rehearsal of doing something that I think is very spiritual with them?
Yeah.
But other than a gut feeling, I don't know how I actually exactly arrive at that decision. I mean, sometimes it's just having played with them. I know this person, I can suggest something to them, and they know exactly what I'm talking about.
You know their proficiency.
Other
level or
people, sometimes
talent,
they'll say, what? And if they keep saying that,
Okay.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, well, next time maybe. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So it's just an instinct after
It's
a
an
while.
instinct, but it's also changing. I like to play with, open up my horizons, and I've purposely tried to play with a lot of musicians who may not actually be in the improvising
Mhm.
part of it. They're more structured, but I like to
Mhm.
play with them to get their feel on it and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, people like Wezzo, you know, Mike Wezzo.
Yes, Mike Wezzo,
Blues
yeah.
World. We've done some things together.
Mhm.
He's not an avant-garde improviser by any means, but he and I really communicate real well and have a fun time playing.
That's great. See, yeah, one of
You,
these days, maybe,
I did a gig with this guy, and we had a great time.
we did have a great time, but it was interesting. You know, I was very aware of your background and my background when we were playing, and I was thinking, you know, I have a very set kind of arrangement here, and
Yeah.
God, I'm just kind of throwing it at you and letting you wing it, and you did a fantastic job. I mean, I really
Yeah.
admire that kind
Well,
of.
I had fun. It was,
Yeah.
it was good songs.
It
and
was
a lot of
fun.
And you didn't choose the normal top 40 of standard rock songs. You choose songs that not a lot of people do. And I can't remember the
I hope
names.
that's good.
I can't remember the names of them.
Yeah, really. Okay. Yeah, we had a lot of
There
fun.
was an
that day.
Eagles song, but it wasn't Hotel California or Desperado.
Yes, yeah.
I like that.
This is Grandpa Card of Mildavia, and I'm here to tell you if you like that one, you're gonna love this.
Got 1,100 things to do. Trying to call or write a letter to you. I mean well, but I can't get through. I got 1,100 things to do. I'm getting tired, but I can't stop now. I gotta finish, but I don't know how. Keep at it till the job is through. I got 1,100 things to do.
So now, you do all this improv and you work with all these people, you collaborate a lot on music. When did you kind of get the bug to teach?
Well, I've always taught
Yeah.
since I went back to school. I finished 2 years as an undergraduate, and then took some time off to start a family.
Right?
And then I came back to school after about 7 years, and was working several jobs like UPS and morning newspapers and things like that. USA Today had just come out then, so I was delivering USA Today all over Greensboro. And so one of the part-time jobs I did during that time was begin to teach.
Right.
Just privately in my house, and then I started teaching at Greensboro Music Academy, which is now North Carolina Music Academy.
Okay.
Several of my colleagues here at Greensboro College were teaching there, Neil Clegg and Dane McKinney
Mm-hmm.
and Greg Hassel also. And then I started teaching a little bit more on the college level as an adjunct teacher
Right.
about 20 years ago.
I knew you'd been at the college for 20 years, so was really teaching where you were headed to start with? I mean, was that?
When I went back to school,
Yeah.
when I took those 7 years off and went back to school, it was with the intention of being a college professor. I wanted to get a degree and then get my master's degree and then start teaching at the college level. And I did that, and then later on I went back and got a doctorate, which it's a lot of education, but it's fun.
Okay, so for me, can you prioritize these components of your life? Because I would have a hard time imagining which one is the most fulfilling or which one is most important. Are they equally important and you kind of split it all as evenly as possible, or does one trump another?
I split it between, I think pretty much 50-50 between education and performance. And both of those involve a lot of intersecting elements. A lot of my performances are educational performances.
Okay.
And a lot of my ideas about performance are, brought to fruition from in teaching students and whatnot. And then I'm also active as a performer, and under that category come all the different genres, whatever they happen to be.
So where does composing fall in that? It gets the least amount of your time right now, but
Right now it does, but I spent the last, it's like these cycles, these waves.
Yeah.
I spent about 2 years, maybe actually probably 3 to 4 years, just composing until just recently. And that also included songwriting, writing lots of songs. And right now I'm kind of in the midst of plugging all those compositions and songs into different projects. Like I wrote several classical pieces and several jazz pieces that are all going to come on this new Dave Fox Group CD.
right.
Which it's a jazz CD, but it also features this kind of classical ideas, classical chord progressions, thematic, organization.
Is that close to being done?
Well, we're getting ready. 3 songs need some. I don't know if they need them. We're going to put them there. are going to have some orchestration, some oboes and bassoons. I think they do need them. They kind of call out for
Okay.
them. So we're going to do that and then do a little more editing. Most of the tracks have been recorded with myself, Zach Page on bass, Kenny Soul on drums, and we're going to add Chip Newton on guitar and some other instruments.
So maybe by the end of the year, maybe?
Oh yeah, I'm thinking by the end of the year.
Excellent. Okay. So you'd be looking for that. What, do you have a name for it already?
No, it's going to be the next Dave. I haven't done it. The Dave Fox Group was probably where most of my recording. Well, I don't know what the word is. It's probably where most people would remember me when they think about me. Is what has Dave Fox done? Is the jazz recording? Because I did three in a row as the Dave Fox Group. One was kind of a really out there avant-garde rock thing, then one was the traditional jazz, and the other one was even further out there. And I did several other recordings in between there that were all kind of avant-garde. And then I got into some rock things. I did the Meldavians. So now I'm going back to doing a Dave Fox Group recording, and it's actually been like 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
So it's kind of interesting to come back to jazz after.
It keeps it fresh, though,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like you're coming at it new. All right, here's a tough question, maybe. Let's say you found yourself on a planet like Moldavia, I don't know, just a fictional place, and you wanted to be a professional musician, and they told you that you could only perform one genre of music. That was the only way you could perform. What would you pick?
Well, first of all, Moldavia is a country, not a planet.
Okay, see?
It's on the planet Tyrannus.
Tyrannus,
If I was
there
on
you
Tyrannus,
go. Yes.
which is actually the name of the studio where I'm recording the Dave Fox Group, Tyrannus.
Is it?
Yeah, they decided to name the studio after the planet.
How about that? That's fabulous.
So we have to consult these, intergalactical lawyers to get all the legal rights. Make sure we're straight in
Yes.
space legalese.
Yes, we don't want the Federation to get involved in this, right?
I think what I would say is that let me make up my own genre and play that.
Okay. Brilliant. That's a beautiful
I think what people look for, or how artists connect with people, eventually what it boils down to, it really doesn't matter the genre. Is that artist being honest, and are they putting
genuine?
Are they genuine about what they're doing? And it doesn't really matter what style it is. Now, if the person listening can only listen to heavy metal music, they're probably not going to appreciate me because I haven't done anything heavy metal yet. Although I like heavy metal, maybe I should do that someone.
Well, once you get through with this jazz album, I mean, the door's wide open, isn't it?
But I've found that I can, now I understand the idea about people fit into certain categories, and people want to know what kind of music they're going to hear when they go out to hear you.
Mhm.
But the other, at the same time, it's like I don't want to be bound by that. I mean, if I want to play a jazz song first and then a rock song next, and they go together, who's really to argue with that?
No, I like that answer because I was trying to make you put yourself in a box, and you refused to do that, and that was brilliant. And who's to say that there aren't 100,000 more genres out there?
I hope
like
that's one
that,
thing.
you
I
know?
hope that's one thing that comes out of this interview about how brilliant I am.
Well, I'm sure it's already apparent.
and how humble.
Yeah, absolutely. We're finding that out about you. Yes.
No, I don't know if it's brilliant. I think it's actually kind of selfish, but I really feel that way. I mean, to me, what's satisfying is the freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the freedom to go out on stage and express yourself musically. And to really express yourself, you have to be free. You can't be bound by
No.
anything. I mean, you have to observe certain conventions, like, you know, if you're playing in front of for a church convention, you probably shouldn't take your clothes off and run around stage or something like that.
Okay, I'll make a note of that.
But in the Blind Tiger, that's perfectly okay.
That's perfectly okay. Well, the other thing it tells me, hearing you say that, is that you're very confident and you like the music that you make yourself, and that's all that really matters. Is, you know, I like what I'm doing, and I'm proud of what I'm making, and that's all that really matters. You can call it whatever you want, but
Yeah, I think
That's
there's a certain joy
yeah,
from creating.
yeah,
And I think lots of people out there, and I think that's, if there is any spillover from between music and education, it's the idea of creativity. I mean, you know, the idea of making something up, you just think about everything that exists, all these inventions we have today. The car was because someone created it. And
Right.
then someone created windshield wipers to keep the rain off of. I mean, when you put your minds to things that need creating or things that you can create because they're beautiful,
Right.
it's really a pretty nice way to occupy yourself. You know, it's much better than, you know, killing people.
Well, in indie music, or you be in the indie music, you're doing your own stuff your own way, you'll find that more. But when I think about music that's created to fit a market on the radio station, you know, that's formalized. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not really created in the same frame of mind that you're coming from.
Well, maybe not, but that just might be a different cultural or social strata that we happen to be in. I mean,
Maybe.
you know, I far be it from me to denigrate it to someone just because they're putting something on commercial radio. But I think it's like, even if I don't have that opportunity, I'm still going to create.
True, and I don't mean to denigrate it. I'm just saying more so that maybe if I'm a person who's writing a song and I'm trying to market it and get it in front of X persons, I may be tempted to throw this or that or some piece of me in, but I won't, because I know that sooner or later somebody's going to say that doesn't fit in this box. So I'm saying that it's awesome that you know, that's not where you're coming from or what is most important to you. It's just the real expression of whatever's inside you. So
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
really, well, there's a dichotomy. I think
Mhm.
to create music, on the one hand, to create anything, any type of art, on the one hand, you have to really have the attitude, I don't care what anybody thinks of this, because I'm just
Yes.
going to do it, and it's my expression. But on the other hand, you do care what people think about it.
Yeah, because you hear nothing but crickets chirping the rest of the time.
Well, but especially if they say, yeah, that's really cool.
keeps you motivated, like passionate about what you're doing?
To constantly be coming up with something new.
Mm-hmm.
And that new thing might be taking something that's already in existence and just altering it a little bit. But as long as I'm doing that, I'm happy because I'm involved in the creative process.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what keeps me the most happy.
I didn't have this on my list of questions, but it made me think about it. Have you had any students that have gone on to do any particularly wonderful things? I mean, is that a reward?
It is. I have a student who's fairly successful in the composition field of composing music for video
Mm-hmm.
games. And I have several students right now who are really developing into excellent classical pianists, and they're also trying to cross over and be able to play jazz and other styles also.
That's cool.
I've had lots of students over the years, some of them for a long time and some of them for just a little while. I remember I had one student for about a year when he was in junior high school. And, you know, it was a typical, lessons were fine, nothing outstanding, but we just had a good time. And, you know, he was like a lot of kids. He wouldn't practice a lot because he had other things going on.
Yeah.
And then about 20 years later, he contacts me and he's living in Asheville, and he's a successful jazz pianist down there.
Wow.
And he kind of
Amazing.
just kept up music on his own. And, you know, lots of students like that. And not all of them are pianists either. There's all kinds of saxophonists and trumpets and people like that who come here.
That's great. It's got to feel good.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
I always like to know, some people refer to it as a bucket list. Today I'm going to call it the, gee, I really wish I could do that list. Is there something out there, maybe a stage you haven't played on or a performer you'd like to work with, or is there something out there that you really want to do still? I mean,
Well, that's a loaded question. There's tons of things.
Yeah.
Tons of things, but I mean, it's
What might be
towards
towards the top of the
practical.
list? Well,
and,
yeah. who cares about
Awesome.
practical? I want to know what's at the top of the list.
I'd like to do a tour of Europe.
Okay.
I'd like to put together. I'm doing some solo piano shows on the West Coast
Mm-hmm.
next year in San Pedro, California, and Phoenix, Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
and filling in some other details. And I'd like to put something like that together and go to Europe.
Just solo?
It
Yeah.
could be solo. It could be with other musicians.
This man works with a lot of musicians, so when he says it could be other musicians, he's not kidding.
Because I really love Europe. I like to go.
Uh-huh.
I used to play in this band, the US Air Jazz Band. We were kind of a corporate-sponsored big band, and they would fly us all over the place in exchange for playing for functions. And we would go to Germany a lot, and we'd go to Italy and France. And Germany especially was the first country I went to out of the United States. And it was just, I don't know if I can say it's like coming home. I don't know if I'm German or not. I think I'm probably Dutch.
Dutch.
Originally, Fox.
Could
Probably
be,
related to
yeah.
it. But I love Germany.
Is it true that they really appreciate American music
They do.
much more?
They do.
Yeah. That's nice. I haven't been to Europe yet. One day, maybe. We'll see.
Maybe we could all go together.
Wow. Yeah. Sign me up.
You could do an interview
In Europe.
In Europe.
There you go.
We could hook up some people up there for you to interview.
Yeah. I'm ready.
Okay.
I just need to get my passport. I don't have a passport. All right, and last thing, is there a legacy of some sort that you want to leave behind? You want to have touched the world or made a mark in some way?
Well, I don't really. I think everyone thinks about that, but I think that'll just sort of take care of itself. And obviously, my work, my recordings, and my teaching, and my students, and hopefully my wife and my family and friends who knew me would say I was a nice person.
Humble, yet intelligent.
You know, maybe kind of wacky, but all in all, he was a nice
I don't know
guy.
what you're talking about.
I really think, you know, being nice is important.
Yeah, I agree.
I've gotten lots of gigs sometimes, just, they say, you weren't really the best musician for this, but you were nice, you're easy to work with.
That I find hard to believe, but
It is
I'll
hard
take
to
your,
believe.
yeah, I'll take your comment there.
You find it hard to believe I'm easy to work with?
No, I find it hard to believe you weren't the best for the situation.
Oh.
You know, you're easy to work with, you're great to work with, as a matter of fact.
Well, I have found that no matter how good you get, there's always somebody better than you.
And there's
so
always-
you've got to just, every time you play, just do the best you can do. It doesn't always mean doing something real fancy and doing high-risk techniques. Sometimes it's just choosing the right notes.
I've actually been paid to stop playing once, so.
Did you really?
Yeah, there are places you don't fit, no matter how good you are. It happens.
They thought your noise was too much?
Well, no, I was a James Taylorish kind of guy, and this was a kind of biker bar situation, so it just wasn't a fit. Yeah, it was
that's
done
what's-
through a booking agent, so you know,
Yeah.
those things happen. So, is there anything else you would like them to know about where they can find you, or what's coming up in your life and your performance? Or?
Well, I have a nice little tour coming up in the fall with two different groups, with the Dave Fox group, which is myself, Kenny Soul, Zach Page, and Chip Newton. And we'll be doing songs off of this new album I told you about. And then we have 2 dates squeezed in there with the Meldavians, which is the same rhythm section, myself, Zach, Kenny, but minus Chip, Scott Sawyer on guitar, and Melissa Reeves on vocals.
Is
And
Melissa
that's-
coming out?
That's the Meldavians, yeah.
Oh, excellent.
So we'll have a show here at Greensboro College on Thursday, October 3rd, and then in Marsh Woodwinds the night after that. And then there's 3 Dave Fox group concerts before and after that that are happening in Winston-Salem and in Damascus, Virginia, and then in Asheville. And I'm playing down in Asheville again in September. Asheville is a nice place to play. There's two venues there that have great acoustic pianos. The Altamont Theater, which is where I'm playing sometime in September, some Tuesday in September. And then the ISIS, where I'm playing Sunday, October 7th.
And they can find out all
This
this
is
on
all
on the website.
DaveFoxMusic.com.
DaveFoxMusic.com. Great digs. I love this. Yeah. Fantastic.
Make sure you get a shot of the cars up there.
Oh, well, we'll have to get a photo of that. Our camera crew is kind of stuck in one place here.
I collect those.
Maybe you could just tinkle a little bit on the piano to say goodbye.
You mean urinate?
No, let's not urinate.